All right, guys, here we are, Sales Bro Pod with Mr. Tech Sales Hacks or Sean. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped to pumped to dig into it. Hopefully give some guys some good wisdom around tech sales and sales in general.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
yeah. So I think I had one guy on who's a homie who's a tech sales recruiter. He's also on the online
Mm,
kind of thing. But
yeah.
you are like the first like full blown like tech sales. Like this is what I do. This is what I help people with, guy. So I think it's going to be a cool perspective to show. Um, for the record, while I'm in the high ticket space, I think tech sales is a great option. One may not be for you, doesn't mean the other isn't. So wanted to get
Yeah,
you on. But really quick, man, can you give us like the quick pitch on who you are and what you're up to?
for sure. Yeah, my name's Sean. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I've been in tech sales for a little over 2.5 years now. Um, and yeah, I've loved every bit of it. So I graduated from Texas A&M in 2020 and never thought I'd do sales. Got into financial advising as like my first role out of college. Little did I know it was like a full sales cycle role. So like prospecting, cold calling, closing, discovery, like everything. Long story short, like all the clients that I was working with that were making the most money were people in tech sales, like VPs, SDRs, AEs, um, guys that are 23, like all the way up to like 35 was like kind of like what I was seeing. And I'm meeting with these like young dudes, love their lifestyle, and they're making like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I was like, okay, I want to get into that. So 2022 made the switch from financial advising into tech sales. Made really good money right away. It was like really easy for me because when you get into tech sales at first, like you're only doing cold calling, you're only setting meetings. It's like really, really easy compared to a full sales cycle. Um, Fast forward 2.5 years, got promoted to SMBAE, was the number one rep on my team. Now I'm on our commercial team. So I'm like in between like SMB and enterprise. Essentially, it's like a mid market account executive role.
Nice.
Um, and then a year ago, which is essentially how we met, started posting content on like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter about tech sales. And then I've been helping people break into tech sales as well. It's kind of like my coaching offer, my internet money, whatever you want to call it. I've been doing that for about a year, which has been a ton of fun too. Really good results with the guys that we work with one on one. I don't have a course or anything like that yet. We were just talking. I'm probably going to launch one soon. Um, but yeah, that's like a quick high level rundown. Um, Hopefully, just kind of spit some free game. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So for those that are familiar with like this podcast and all that, and kind of the way I do things, I feel like Sean does things in a similar way, just for the tech sales side of things. So like you said, you don't have a course, but you do help people like one on one. A lot of what I do is one
Hmm.
on one. You also do a little bit of yapping. I do a little bit of yapping, and I feel like
For sure.
for the most part, there's people on both sides of the high ticket and the tech stuff that they love to like fluff things up and sell the dream and all this stuff. And I feel like we keep it pretty real, and that just helps everyone, right? Like even the people you work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I wanted to get you on to kind of just like bring a new perspective to the audience because um, again, tech sales is like if I wasn't doing what I was doing now, like being in the high ticket space, running the agency, I told you, but I'd probably be like grinding out tech sales. Like
Yeah.
if you're optimizing for money, uh, lifestyle, longevity, all that stuff, like it's sales. But then if you're really looking into it and you don't want to like go get a 8-year degree and pick up all this debt, like I don't know, tech sales, high ticket, some of these other ones are really good. I'd throw like medical device in there too. Like I know some people that do really well
For
there.
sure. Yeah. I mean, dude, any type of sales, I've kind of come to find and realize you can make really good money if you just get good at it and you stay consistent. Like whether it's high ticket sales, tech sales, med sales. I've got a buddy in dental sales that crushes it. I mean, you started in what, roofing sales,
Yeah.
and like you were where you're at today. Like think a lot of people have like a short term mindset on like how they're gonna make money, but like if you just think about it like long term, like take someone like you started in roofing sales, like now look at what you're doing.
Mhm.
But it's all still like kind of because of sales. Same
Yeah,
with me. Like I was essentially like selling insurance and investments. Like now look where I'm at, and we're
yeah,
only like 26 or however. You're 26, right?
yeah. 26. Yeah,
Yeah.
but, I
So
mean, you look at like any industry, even the ones that are like notoriously kind of shitty, like car sales, or like uh,
yeah,
I don't know, like financial advising. I'm not going to say that's totally shitty, but like there's a lot of people that churn out of those, right? It's like there's people in
yeah,
those industries that do half a million, $1 million a year as sales reps, like in all the industries. So like
absolutely.
it ultimately is about just like rising to the top and like longevity. I think there's just certain industries where you get there quicker and it might be a little bit easier, like the ones we're talking about today. So
Yeah. There's a lot of pros to the two types of sales that you and I are involved in. Especially today's day and age where people are trying to maximize for income, but they're also trying to maximize for like work life balance. Can I work from home? Can I travel a little bit like while I'm working? That seems to be especially like the type of guys that are like seem to like um, watch our content. That's like what people care about. It's like, can this be
yeah,
chill? Like, can I do this like on vacation? And am I going to make bank? You know?
yeah, yeah. Dude, I think I actually you were in like Mexico recently, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you were obviously like working out there. I know you're kind of in like a hybrid role, yeah.
Dude, so for me, I'll give like a little bit of a rundown in terms of like office to like remote kind of work balance and what that looks like in tech sales. So when I first started as an SDR, Monday, Wednesday, Friday in office, Tuesday, Thursday, my choice. SMBAE, which was my next promotion, Tuesday, Wednesday in office, Monday, Thursday, Friday, my choice. Now I can be fully remote as a commercial AE. I can work from wherever I want. I go to the office all the time because I'm like 8 minutes from the office. And like another great thing about tech sales, like I try to enjoy and like appreciate the little things, like just getting fed, free snacks, free coffee, like really nice office. Like right now, I'm just like in a office setting, like a little private office in our big downtown office building, like great views, which is a cool thing too. But I can be completely remote. Like when I was in Mexico, there's nothing better, dude, than being on vacation, but like wanting to keep the ball rolling a little bit. So you're like, let's like work some half days or take like a few key calls. You're like on vacation. You have like an A plus call. You're moving big deals forward, or you're closing clients to come on for your coaching offer, whatever it might be. Like while you're on the beach, um, it's really cool. Like you really do just kind of need a laptop, um, depending on your role in tech sales, and like you can keep moving the ball forward, making things happen.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, man. I saw you were. I think you were with uh, Matt, who we were talking about before,
Hmm.
old friend. Um, and I think that may have been what prompted me to just like it was either that or someone else. But like I saw someone like on vacation that was in the sales space, and I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere, and then I just did, and I could do that, which is super cool. Like
Dude, and
everyone
you
can do
just keep working, like
that. Yeah,
keep posting your content, keep taking calls. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like enjoy your vacation and stuff, but like if you're in that mode, like
yeah,
dude, you can just keep it going on a
yeah,
vacation. It's awesome.
yeah. How did you when you went to school? You went to school for what exactly?
I went to school, dude. I majored in sport management in school, and then I minored in business and financial planning, which is like kind of how I like just ended up in
Yeah.
financial advising when I graduated.
How did you like? Was it just like people that you knew were getting into that, or how did you end up there?
In financial advising, like my
Yeah,
first kind of sales job,
yeah,
dude, it's a great story. I mean, I grew up like watching my dad work a ton in the semiconductor industry. So like if you know about Nvidia, like AMD, like semiconductor, like chips and shit. So like that's what my dad did. Worked his ass off. He actually just retired and he's in Colorado for a month celebrating. I'm about to go visit him. We're doing like a fishing trip in Boulder.
Nice.
Um, but anyways, I was like, okay, I saw how hard my dad grinded. Like, I'm gonna have to do that. This is me thinking like in high school. Like, I'm gonna have to do that. So like, I should probably do something I like. So I'm like, well, let's just do sport management. I like found it on like the A&M major list. And then I remember when I was a sophomore, I was like getting my teeth cleaned, and my dentist was like, "Yeah, dude, like we're talking about career and like what I'm majoring in." He's like, "Yeah, bro, like sport management is sick. Like that's what my son's doing. Like as long as you don't care about how much money you make, like it's like a sweet industry to be in. You'll have a lot of fun." And I was like, "Wait, dude, I do care about I do care about how much money I'm gonna make." And I hadn't even like looked into it enough. You know, at the time I'm like 19, 20. All I really care about is like getting decent grades and like partying in college and having fun. And so then that was like a reality check because I was like, okay, I'm going to be halfway done with college at the end of this year. And like all I have is like a business minor and this sport management degree. And so at this during that same time, I was just naturally getting interested in like retirement investing, the idea of like putting money into a 401k Roth IRA and then having like a few million by retirement and being able to just live off that. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like there's a plan to stop working.
Yeah.
And so started investing in stocks, like downloaded Robinhood, all that stuff. And then I just went and talked to like an academic counselor, and I went and talked to like someone at the finance department, told her like what I wanted to do and like what I'm interested in. She was like, we have this brand new minor. You can go get your financial planning minor. Like the guy running it is awesome. And so I just threw that on, threw that onto my, changed up like my, uh, whatever it's called, like course curriculum plan. Started doing that, which by the way was like the best thing I could have done because then I learned like real life shit in college, which is good. Like not just learning about sport
Yeah.
management. Um, and then her husband worked at Northwestern Mutual and told me about the internship that Northwestern Mutual has, which is actually a really, really good internship. So after my junior year, I interned there for a year and then went full time when I graduated. So that's
Nice.
kind of like how it all came. Just one thing leads to another, leads to
Yeah.
another. Met guys in tech sales, and now somehow I'm here.
Dude, honestly, you probably learned like more applicable stuff to your life by working there for like a little bit after school and like how
Hmm.
like you I mean for one you probably maybe wouldn't have ended up in tech sales, which you seem to be happy with, but also like on just like seeing how these people 10 steps ahead or just like planning for the future and setting themselves and their loved ones up right. It's like it's probably really valuable.
Dude,
So
it's that was awesome. Um, Met so many people. Also, dude, I just know how much money everybody makes because I was 22 when I started, or no, I was like 21 when I started. I stopped when I was like 23. And so I was meeting with everyone you could think of, like most people our age or a little younger, and then some older. But like I found out how much engineers make, how much accountants make, like big four CPAs, sales guys, like pre med, post med, just everything. So I got like a really good idea of like where can I go make money and who enjoys their job. And tech sales really stuck out. And yeah, it's funny how shit works out, dude. Like I'm the biggest sales like promoter ever. I literally shill tech sales on social media. I love my job. I genuinely do. And like in college, my senior year, no way would I have wanted to get into sales. Like I never thought of myself as like a sales guy.
yeah, same the same exact way. But like I found like I had just ended up stumbling into the vehicle and I was like, well shoot man, like if this is what it takes for me to get the money and the lifestyle that I want without going to school more, going into a bunch of debt, like then I'm gonna do this, And
Yeah.
I don't know, like honestly, like in hindsight, it is kind of silly because like now being in it, you probably think the same as me. It's like, dude, you don't really need to be any like what you need to be able to do if you want to do well in sales is just like help people solve problems that cost money. Um, you don't need to be like any certain personality type or this or that. Like everyone can do it, but everyone's going to do it differently. But ultimately, you just got to help people solve problems and like communicate value pretty much. So
Yeah, just on that note of like, we're almost on the conversation of like, do you need to go to college to like do sales? Um, Certainly not in like high ticket sales, like in the space that you're in, you don't have to at all. Even in tech sales, you don't have to. I will say like if you're just starting out, you don't have any sales experience and you want to go work for like Microsoft, Google, or Amazon or Nvidia or these top software type technology companies, you're going to need a degree, but not for just a middle of the road software company. I've helped plenty of guys. One guy especially comes to mind. Um, no degree, like 20 years old, but had some sales experience. Get them into tech sales, and they're like the top guy on their team.
yeah,
Um, so no degree needed in sales. I mean, it's just different. It's just
yeah,
different what it takes to succeed.
yeah. I would say like my reasoning for going to school was like I come from like military parents background, and so like it was government funded. I was like, well, I'm not going to not go to school. Like I know it's going to set me up a little bit better than if I didn't go, but I know like everything that I've done, I could have done it without going to school. Um, and yeah, unless you're shooting for like the top companies, maybe in like I don't know, like you mentioned dental sales, like medical device, some of these more like tougher ones to get into, like
Old school.
yeah, it probably does help a little bit just to have like a nice name on the resume. But like, dude, I don't know, like maybe communications class, but like I don't know what else like would prep you for a tech sales job. Actually, I think there's like degree plans out there now, maybe that like,
Yeah,
but
rare. Like there
yeah,
might be some like marketing with a sales focus. Honestly, dude, if I had to go back, I would probably if it was like, hey, you're going to get into tech sales, you have to go to college first. Maybe psychology to understand how people work, how the brain works,
yeah,
how people make decisions. Like I think that would help. Maybe
yeah,
even marketing.
yeah, something like that. But how did you like? So how did you end up getting into your first SDR role? Like, was it difficult? And then also, um, when you're helping other people get into their first SDR role, like how difficult is it for the average person?
Yeah, dude, good question. So how I got into tech sales through a direct referral. So I had one of my buddies that I was working with. He got to my company first, and then he knew I was on the way out the door at Northwestern Mutual, and he's pretty much like, dude, like at least take an interview here. Like I know you're looking around, and I'd kind of told him like, yeah, I'm probably gonna go get into tech sales, and he had just gotten into it. He had like a couple quarters under his belt, and he was pretty much telling me like, dude, this is way easier of a sales job. I'm gonna make like 120 grand this year. And it was his first. He was an SDR, and I was like, damn, okay. And so he referred me. I applied, went through the interview process, um, got the job, and it was honestly like really seamless. But he had a good reputation. I had good sales experience for that SDR role, so it was just kind of like a match made in heaven there. Um, And then that model of like what worked for me is how I help people get into tech sales. A lot of like professional networking, finding referral links, and kind of going like an unconventional route as opposed to just like the basic applying method that most people do and then never hear back because there's hundreds of applicants. Um, as far as how hard it is to get into tech sales, it's a hard question to answer because it's kind of like, are you willing to like get told no a few times and go through some rejection and do a good amount of work on your end? At the end of the day, most people, if you have a decent amount of sales experience or working experience at all, or maybe a degree, combination of those things, you're going to be able to get into tech sales if you have the right strategy. It's not impossible, uh, but it's not super easy. Like the way that the job market is right now, it was extremely easy to get into tech sales a couple years ago. Not anymore. Um, but it's certainly not impossible. You just have to be willing to like put the reps in, go through a few different interview processes, and really prepare for those interviews because they're trying to find the best candidate. They're not just taking anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's possible because people are doing it. But if you're going
Yeah,
to do it and you want to make sure that you don't end up wasting your time, maybe some guidance from someone who's already done it would be nice.
100%. And here's the reality is like when you're going through a tech sales interview process, like you're going to have a recruiter screening. You're going to interview with an SDR manager, and then you're going to do like some sort of mock email assignment where you have to draft up a cold email to a prospect. And then you're going to have like another interview process with maybe two SDR managers, and one of those being like a mock cold call. And then probably like a final round with a director or a VP where it's just kind of like, let's make sure that like there's a reason you got pushed to this last stage. Just like put that final check on.
Yeah.
And so like to pass each of those rounds, like you have to be on point. You have to be doing the small things the right way. You have to nail the mock email assignment. You have to nail the mock cold call. If you've never been in this world, like how do you do that, right? And so that's why you see that's why I do what I do, because I know how amazing it is to get into tech sales. And I know the value that I provide when I'm helping people get into the industry. And I know how hard it is to do that on your own. Um, yeah, I think that's like a good breakdown of like what it looks like and why there's a challenge and why people seek like some outside resources while they are kind of going through that process.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was that like lengthy on the application side of things. That's pretty crazy.
It can be, and that's, maybe give or take, sometimes it's around shorter, sometimes maybe it's around longer, but that's kind of what you're looking at, kind of four stages with some sort of a mock email, mock cold call, or sometimes both going to be thrown in there at some point. So they're really trying to find a good candidate. Um, Even though it is an entry level sales role, they're looking for like that natural talent. They're looking for someone that can speak smoothly, be professional, do some of those small things the right way.
So in what world, like I've seen this but I know it's rare. But like for example, I came from roofing sales and I went into like the high ticket space and I was like, I'm just going to be a closer. Like I'm not going to do appointment setting. And that's what I ended up doing. And I know a lot of people who have. But how does that work in tech sales? Because I'm sure you guys would see a lot, like some people come in with a lot of experience,
Yeah.
whether it's from like door to door or like maybe a higher up role in a different industry, because door to door is like very transferable to SDR. That's the easy connection. But like someone who's
Yeah.
done like remote closing like a significant amount, or they've done like more of that closing role in a different industry, like what would it look like if they wanted to get into tech sales?
Yeah, man, that's such an interesting one. I think there's some 10 to 20% of guys that I work with that have closing experience. We can go right for those account executive roles. But I'll be honest, the majority of guys, like even if you have 3 years of experience in like high ticket closing or just closing deals in other industries, especially if it's B2C, you have to, when you get into tech sales, you're going to have to cut your teeth as an SDR. Um, the reason is like, let's say I'm a hiring manager of an AE team, right? And so we're closing business to business deals in software sales. That's the key difference. That's what you have to remember is closing B2C. Like it's a little bit transferable to B2B, but
Yeah.
like what's transferable are like those skills of running a discovery call, um, presenting price, following up, like maybe a little bit of a pitch. Like in software sales, you're really what's important is, or in business to business sales in general, what's important is like your understanding of their organization and looping in all the right stakeholders. And that might be at a um, multi-thousand person company, multi-hundred person company, where you have a VP who's ready to buy, but then, this IT manager just blocked your entire deal from happening. And so the motion of B2C versus B2B is so different that an AE manager, when they're thinking of who they want on their team,
Yeah.
they're not really going to go for that B2C closer. What they're going to go for is an SDR from their own company that's ready to take that promotion, who's been learning their product, been learning their industry and what their prospects' pain points and stuff like that. Or they're just going to go for an AE at another company that has that B2B sales experience.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I'll have guys come from high ticket sales that are trying to make a transition into tech sales, and they're like, "Oh, I make 10K a month. I want to get into an AE role right away." And I'm like, "Dude, it's probably not going to happen,
Yeah.
especially if you're like bouncing around to different offers where like it's not a very legit company either." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because now it's like, okay, you can go talk about how you sold like for this like fitness coach. That's not very transferable at all, but you can sell that very well for the SDR role. So it is like a reality check. It's just a different skill set when you're doing B2C versus B2B. It's just different. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So what about someone that, like, let's say they've been selling B2B for like a huge marketing agency. Like it's not a software, but it's B2B. It, like, the sticking point, it doesn't seem like it's much in the like actual sales ability, but rather like being able to like sell into a company and then maybe managing the stuff around that. Like would that be any different, or
Yeah.
still like you're kind of far off?
Yeah, no. So that would be a little different. Like that would give you more of that skill set that a tech sales that a software company is looking for to hire in their sales organization. B2B sales is like what it comes down to, right? It's like being able to, and like they do care about your track record. Have you been hitting quota? Have you been getting promoted? Stuff like that. But yeah, it's more so like the sales methodology and like that sales motion
Yeah.
of like, are you used to doing discovery and understanding business priorities and objectives, looping in the right stakeholders, and selling to a business as opposed to selling to a consumer? It's just completely different. It's a completely different motion.
Yeah. That makes sense. I feel like it's that idea is kind of the same when people come from, let's say, like door to door solar into like remote closing. It's like, in theory, like you could go into like a closing position from the start, but one, it's going to be difficult. Like if you can make it happen, it's not going to be easy. And then two, like if you just think about it, it's like, what company hires someone from a different industry that's never even done this before? Like, what does that say about the
Yeah,
role they're trying to fill? Like, it's probably not the best quality. You're usually better off getting
yeah,
the role in a bigger company and then working up that way. That's how I see it.
I think so too. And another thing too is like I think if you're looking to get into tech sales and you're worried about like, oh, you feel like you're taking a step back by stepping into an SDR role, I would disagree. I would disagree, and I actually think even let's say you get an AE role, I actually think you're setting yourself up for so much more success if you start as an SDR first. And the reason being is when you become an AE, there is so much to learn. First off, the industry that you're selling to, the types of prospects and their titles, what they care about, like what their challenges are, your specific software and the challenges that it's solving in that industry, sales, like how to run a call, that type of stuff, who to loop in from your own team, and then just the internal tech stack that you're using, like your CRM, your outreach platform, your sales data platform for like Zoom Info, Outreach, Salesforce, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You're learning all that at the same time, and you have to close deals. Versus as an SDR, you can come in. All you have to do is set meetings, and you still have to learn all that stuff that I mentioned up front. And so, as an SDR, crush your quota. All you have to do is set meetings, learn all that, do that for 12 months. And then by the time you're an AE, because you put in all that work for a year, you're setting yourself up to be much more successful as an AE and long term make way more money and put yourself on a better track, have a better reputation for yourself, network with more people internally at your company. Taking that, starting as an SDR, there's a lot of pros to it. Even though you might not feel like it, you might feel like you're taking a step back when you first get in.
Yeah, makes sense. What for you, like you've kind of rose through the ranks. I feel like in a lot of sales positions, like it is pretty rare for you to stay at the same company and like rise up like that. Like a lot of people will go like across to like make it happen faster. But I'm curious now with your like latest promotion, just kind of like what a day to day looks like for you. Like it sounds like you have a lot more autonomy than you had
Yeah.
previously. Like you can be in Mexico if you wanted to. Yeah, what does that look like?
Yeah, man, it's interesting because every day is going to be a little bit different. So, like for example, I'll give you kind of a basic rundown, and I'll compare like today to what tomorrow is going to be. So today I had like woke up pretty early, got to the office. First thing I did, check email, and then rip some cold calls. So just trying to like understand where a few of my accounts are at, what they're doing, and trying to set up new evaluations. Essentially, that's the goal of cold calling, is to set meetings for new evaluations. So did that. Had a super had an important meeting with a company that wanted to kind of get a demo of our software, and then one of the bigger opportunities that I'm working after that demo, had a meeting with them. So did some cold calls. Then I had like 3 hours of back-to-back meetings, um, just moving evaluations forward. Then had a forecast. Then I went to lunch. Had a forecasting call with my team. We're wrapping. The end of the quarter's coming up, right? So we have to report our numbers. We're a public company, so they're getting all that data from us. The business has to forecast like what we're going to close, right? At that point, it's like 2 p.m. So cold calls, some meetings, lunch, and a forecast, and then the rest of my day is being spent, like 3 to 4 will be this podcast. And then for the past hour before this, it's just kind of like setting up my day for tomorrow. I've got a trip that I'm going on Monday to go visit some clients to do in-person presentations. So kind of like setting that up a little bit. Um, and then tomorrow I've got no meetings on my calendar. So like my day will be filled with trying to push other evaluations forward, follow up with past conversations, send some recap emails, do some cold calls, um, and whatever else comes up in the middle of the day. So every day is different, but a typical day, do some cold calls, have some meetings. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah. What is so I know like in tech sales, like the objective is to sell to other businesses, sell your software or your tech. And you know, everyone's always like everyone's going after like the big fish. And you want to get like the small fish, the medium fish, the big fish. But like what is it like to work one of those like bigger prospect accounts, and what does it feel like when you like finally get one pushed over?
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And I mean, I can only hope to keep working like bigger deals and get bigger commission checks in the future. But like the way that you have to think about it in your mind, then this is what I do. Because like you can be working in an opportunity in tech sales where it's a really big account. Like let's say just to make up numbers, let's say my quota on the quarter is like 100K, and this deal would close, and I'm working a deal that if it closes, it's going to be like a 300K deal. Like that's going to really pay me out. That's going to really do a lot for my internal brand. My manager's going to love me. The director of sales is going to see it. I'm going to get a huge commission check. Like those are all things that like are awesome, but like you can't think about while you're working a deal. And so what you really need to focus on, no matter how big the deal is like what value are you providing this company that you're working with? And like how are you going to genuinely impact their day to day? Like if you can keep your mind there, that you're focusing on the right thing over the long run, like the rest is going to take care of itself. And that's also how you keep yourself in the zone on like what's important. You want like that at the end of the day is sales, right? Like what value am I bringing these guys? How can we solve the problems that they're facing? Let's stay zoned in on that. The rest will take care of itself. Um, that's the mindset you have to have when you're working a deal like that. But yeah, it feels really fucking good when they close because I mean, once you like move up, I mean, even like where I'm at now, you close big deals. Like those can be like 30, 50, 80K checks, like commission checks um, at the end of a quarter. And like that's pretty freaking awesome, like that's good money.
Yeah.
Um, and to take that to like another level too, like enterprise strategic account executives that are working like the biggest accounts that are closing seven-figure deals. I mean, dude, people, it's not super common, but like I just went out to lunch with this girl and she's a commercial AE at an AI company. And she's like, yeah, this guy on my team just closed a $4 million deal. Like his commission is seven figures on that. Um, so like that's few and far between, but like that stuff happens, like you're gonna get big deals that you get to work. Um, and yeah, just like if you're listening to this, like think about like some years of dedication, becoming a good seller, working for a good company. Like what would closing a big deal and making like a multi six-figure check feel like? Like how would that change your life,
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. In roofing sales, I closed a deal that paid me out like I think it was 14K, which was the biggest one that I closed. It was
Sick.
more like high volume, and so like I remember when I that check hit, like I literally saw my life like change overnight.
Dude, that's a fat check. Yeah, dude.
And so I'm just
Absolutely.
dude, like 30, 50, 80K, obviously more even like, yeah, I mean, it's life changing. So the cool thing about tech sales is like you have the opportunity like to potentially have more leverage over your time because you end up selling into like bigger solutions to bigger companies, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
big
with
time.
that being said, like you always run the risk. Like this is any sales job, but in tech sales in particular, like I'm sure you've had an account that you chased after for like a long time and nothing ever came of it, and you were like really down in the
Yeah.
like give us one of the rough stories that you have when it comes to that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, gosh, that's like you get more of that than like the wins, I
Yeah.
would say.
Tell me
And
about
that's the hardest part about
it.
yeah, that's the game, right? It's like a mental game. I mean, dude, I've worked opportunities for like 6 months and like told my manager like, hey, they're closing this month, they're closing this month, like we got them, this is the discount that we're offering, these are our pricing terms, like we got them, only to get an email back saying, hey, we're not going to move forward with you guys, like we're just going to stay with what we're currently doing, or literally just to get ghosted. Like we you work with someone for 4 or 5 months and then you're about to close a 50K deal and like you just get ghosted, or they go by a competitor, which hurts like even more.
Yeah.
um, like you're the right solution, you do everything that you can, like you do everything right, and then you call them and they're like, yeah, we move forward with someone else, and you're just like, all right, like have a good day. See you later.
Yeah.
um it's part of the game.
We had that happen recently, man, for a outsourced sales team client. It was going to be a big one for us. They just got I'm not going to say what plays, but they were like top three in the Hormozy school games. We were going to
Oh,
outsource,
no way.
and last minute, we had them talk to the references, like multiple calls, got all the team group chat, all this stuff. Last minute, like, oh yeah, we went with the cheaper option. Cool. So
Mm.
I mean, that's going to happen anywhere in sales, but I know tech sales in particular, like, can sting.
Cheaper option, by the way, like that's the number one thing I hear.
Yeah, that's
Number
tough.
one thing. They'll
Well,
come back around.
yeah, no, they will. They always do. Same with like my like community. They always do. So, uh,
Yeah.
in true sales guy fashion, you and I both have a call in 1 minute here. So,
Yep.
um, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me, if you can see right here, Tech Sales Hacks, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and then Instagram is also Tech Sales Hacks with an underscore.
Cool. Yeah, and I know a good amount of tech sales guys on social media. and most of them seem to be doing good business. But if you're like if you're following me for what I do and you're interested in tech sales, like I would give Sean the stamp of approval. So you should go look into his stuff. And
Appreciate it. Yeah,
yeah, these at the end of the day, man, both good options. Just depends where you're at in life.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, anyways, dude, I appreciate you coming on, and then we can wrap it there.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. Let's do this. Let's do this again. It was good.